your hunger to provide societal benefit and the macro tailwinds that happened in China 5 years ago are right here now. It seems that Southeast Asia is an emerging powerhouse today. So my question, maybe give some time to Vicknesh now, would be, how do you know that this is the right time? Yeah. What have developed in the past?
So it's a good question, Nigel. So I don't know if we are a powerhouse yet, right? I think there's still quite a bit left to be, proven. But having said that, it is definitely on the right path, right? So if you think about it, before we jump into Southeast Asia and where it is now and it becoming a powerhouse, let's take a look a little bit about Singapore to begin with, because if you look at Singapore, Singapore is a couple of years ahead of Indonesia in terms of government policies, etc. And then after Indonesia, you have Vietnam, where Indonesia is a couple of years ahead of Vietnam. So let's take a look at Singapore, and then you see how Indonesia played out, Vietnam played out, and then where we think they all are now looking forward, right? So looking at some history, right? For example, yes, TMB Aura was established at about 2015, but this market was only really uplifted by some of these government programs in 2012, right? 2010, if you look at the number of VC deals in this market, there were only about 19 VC deals, right? Maybe it's because they didn't categorize it. At that time, it could even be called private equity. It could be called something else, right? But categorized as VC, it was 19 deals. Then you had National Research Foundation in Singapore, which came up with a scheme where if you as a investor, so you could be an incubator, accelerator, etc. If you are going to put 89,000 into a startup, the government is going to give you $500,000, right? So it is an insane scheme, but it was highly, highly effective by the Singapore government, where this scheme allowed approximately 17, 18 different firms to start investing into entrepreneurs, right? So if you think about this just as a concept, the early days from 2012 to 2015, the mode of investment, right, and the kind of investors were highly, highly deal-led, right? If you think about it. So, so as an industry and as a market, overall Southeast Asia, everybody was quite deal-led in early days because by design of the market, right? It's nascent. You can only back entrepreneurs that twinkle in the eye. There was guys who you think could be great founders, right? So it's only around 2015-ish, right, where Enterprise Singapore started looking specifically at schemes to uplift the Series A and B areas, right? So for those who are not as familiar, so as a typical investor, you got an angel round, you got a seed round, and these are rounds which are very early, right? So you are backing people on not necessarily revenue growth and other metrics we would look at Series A and B. So Series A and B, you need a lot more data, depth to the market, and sense out of how you want to actually go about investing in it, planning to take them from maybe 1 to 10 or 10 to 100, right? For example, rather than 0 to 1, right? So we were one of those guys approved in 2015, along with some of the latest stage VC guys, right, in the region. And it developed a very different kind of investor, right? So you had investors who were now a lot more sophisticated, a lot larger funds, no longer just investing into early stage companies and just kind of seeding ideas, right? So if you fast forward to now, right, and if you look at Southeast Asia on the whole, right, so you have now Singapore, naturally, majority of the Southeast Asian companies, they put their headquarters here. So you have Singapore, which has very, very good governance. You have very experienced legal teams, and just the infrastructure is way better than what it was about 8 years ago. If you look at Indonesia, Indonesia has very quickly caught up. Naturally, if you look at this chart in front of you, it's from the Google Temasek review, where it's still expected for Southeast Asia on the whole, the internet economy to grow up to 300 billion. This is 3x, right, from where we are right now. And if you look at Indonesia, it has the largest TAM. So as much as Singapore kind of started kicking off this ecosystem, a lot of fund managers started establishing here. You then started having Indonesia catching up, and then Vietnam now is catching up as well. So with a combination of all the macro tailwinds, as well as now, like what Charles mentioned earlier, with more capital coming back and talent coming back with exits into the market, we think that Southeast Asia is going to be incredible. The vintages 2021 funds, 2022 funds are going to be really, really good because with a combination of more sophisticated founders, sophisticated investors, and even North Asian investors now starting to look at Southeast Asia for bigger alpha, right? It's going to really, really uplift the overall region. So we are incredibly bullish about Southeast Asia, hence we are focused here.